All right, we're going to call to order at 12:13 on Sunday, March 10th. Oop,
Okay, I'm muted.
Test. All right. Again, there. Call to order at 12:13 on Sunday, March 10th. Attending Tony, William, myself, Thomas, Joe, Les, Mark, and David. Yeah. Can we get the secretary's report in minutes?
So the minutes were put out and voted on. However, we had one member not vote on the motion to approve. We never received Mark's vote.
Okay,
Once
you
we
only
get
need 80%.
80%. There we
Well,
go. So,
the board had previously set a policy that for email, it had to be 100%. It had to be a unanimous to pass.
okay.
So that's, of course, just a standing policy. That can get changed at any time. That was done several years ago.
I thought we got Mark's vote. Did we send it?
Yeah.
I saw
Okay.
it come in, it just came in over later.
Yeah, I didn't see it. So, so I vote to formalize the approval of those minutes and accept them now that they've been reviewed and publicized in the Hamgram.
Okay.
You move.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Thank you. I move.
A second.
There we go.
William moves, Les seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, treasurer's report.
Hey, I sent out the treasurer's report about 1 o'clock this morning, I think. And since
Can you share it? Because I have not been in my email yet today.
yeah, I think I can. I just wanted to mention, as I'm bringing this up on the screen, I just visited the PO box and we got our 50th member today.
Hey.
And let me just open up the operating statement to start with. And do I have permission to share?
From who?
Have you got a green thing on the bottom of your screen?
The meeting host. Yep.
You should have permission.
Go. And if that's legible, should get there in a second. Thing around.
Are you using Windows?
Yes.
I didn't think you did that.
Well, the meetings I do.
Oh.
Okay. Is that legible?
I can read it. Granted, I'm closest to the TV.
Okay, let me blow out to it. I didn't do it, but that's a little better. Can everyone see that? Around 150.
That's good.
Okay, so the only new expense was I went ahead and paid for the Christmas party to reimburse Lee Critchlow $74.47. We're doing pretty good. I think we're going to hit our target for dues. I still actually have not sent out any kind of reminder to the non-paid members. There's a handful that were members last year that haven't yet. So in the past, I haven't done that. This year, it's been my goal to get a reminder out to the past members so that we can bring our dues up to what we have in the budget here.
Who's the reminder that we're sending out? Yeah, who are we sending to the door with the baseball bat?
It was just gonna be an email.
Oh. Well, let me know, because remember, they should give till it hurts, so that it doesn't have to hurt till they give.
Okay, so we have $2,500 in our infrastructure fund, $420 in our humanitarian fund, and $1,300 in the general fund, plus $1,000 emergency reserves. Any questions on this so far? So the main issue that I've been working with is the insurance. I did go out to the ARRL website and I got as much information as I could. I sent that around to everybody. My problem with the equipment side of it is they want a detailed list of each piece of equipment. And although I have that for the recent stuff that we bought, I really think it's nebulous, the historical stuff that I've got on my list, because I think that several of those pieces of equipment no longer exist, is my guess, and that I wouldn't want to insure them. Also, the cap on this equipment policy with ARRL is $15,000, and if we're not careful, we could easily run into that. We're likely to run into that cap. So I want to be kind of judicious if we end up insuring equipment, and I'm not sure that we will want to do that. Then we want to be careful either with that cap or to find another policy.
What does that cap mean?
It means they will insure us equipment up to $15,000 worth of equipment. They don't want to provide us more equipment.
Also, that has nothing to do with what their cap is for reimbursement.
Right, it has nothing to do with reimbursement. The reimbursement is at the replacement cost.
Up to $15,000?
Yeah,
So you could have $500,000 worth of equipment, but you couldn't have a claim more than $15,000. I think that's what that means.
Maybe.
Right.
So I'd like to continue to look at other policies for this. The liability side, we have some time. The equipment policy is expiring at the end of the month. Does anybody see any disadvantage with letting our equipment policy expire for a month?
I do not.
That'll be the month that lightning strikes the report.
Is it going to, do you think that will lead to an insurance company charging us more on the equipment policy
Yes, it is.
when we go to reestablish it?
No, because they just assume that you're insuring working equipment and make you state that it is working. And they probably have a policy as you can't file a claim within the next number of days. And
So then I'd like to move that we postpone entering into an insurance policy and discuss it at the next meeting.
I second that. This is William.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's abstain.
Oh, no, I'm voting in opposition.
Opposition.
Okay.
Okay.
So we got pass.
Yeah, pass.
With one opposing.
With one opposing. There we
Just
go.
so the recording for Joe's minutes later.
Gotcha.
Any other questions about the budget or the financial information here?
All right. No questions.
Okay.
Let's
That's it.
see. I would say let's move on to the digital systems report, but Sean's not in attendance yet.
And he has not held his first committee meeting yet. So
Oh,
really wouldn't be much to report there.
report, yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to education and outreach.
Okay, I submitted a written report and emailed it, and I left my hard copies sitting on my printer, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to rely on my memory here. But the main event, this as a new committee or a newly formed committee under my chairmanship, and that's part of our discussion. Is the EOC and the PSC have switched chairs as effective at the last meeting. So there's more to come on that subject, but the event that we did participate in was on Thursday, March 8th at the Hilo Union School in Hilo, and it was a typical event considered. We had 4 last year, and one we let in. Thanks very much, Mark. Yeah, we let in with one this year as well at the Kamana School, and under the PSC banner. But this is our first EOC meeting, and it went according to the usual. It's becoming a normal sort of event that we're familiar with what's going to be happening, what the kids are doing, what the teachers expect. And there were no parents at this event, so it's a little different. It was daytime, no parents involved, and I'd have to say little teacher involvement, really. There were a few teachers, but it was mainly kids we were dealing with. So different from that perspective. We had Mark and Jim and Joe. Joe, of course, in control. Thanks very much, Joe, for being the bearing the brunt there. That's very good. And Sean on the receiver side was taking a lot of the traffic. But I know there were others in here in the community that were involved as well. Les did a hand delivery on the trifold flyers for the buyer, and thanks very much. That was nice handing off over the chain link fence. So yeah, and we didn't have the FT991 receiver. It was still disassembled somewhat from the POTA event, I believe. But we, Mark had his radio there, the 991. So we had good HF representation, but it seems like we always rely on the UHF, the HF, and that we can deal with the local situation and with the repeater that's available. So that works out best on a short meeting like that. And we have some upcoming issues that Tony is going to present, I believe, on EOC and involvement with BOAD. The PSCC has been involved with BOAD through me, primarily as the club's representative to BOAD, but we can discuss that down the line when Tony does that presentation, or less, I don't know, whoever's going to present that. And I would say that we're just looking at a new membership roster for the EOC. I know Mark and Joe, you're probably going to be available for at least for the event. So yeah. And Jim Tater, I'm sure, will be available as well. He's expressed the same interest in continuing on there. So we'll just build on that going into the rest of the year. So, any questions?
So given the change that the E&O committee that you now chair is in charge of the science fair event.
Yeah.
It seems like there may be some people that are participating in that science fair event that might be interested in being on the committee.
Yeah.
Mark, for example.
Yeah, we've talked already, and
So
yeah.
maybe you might want to make some nominations for additional committee members.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do that?
No, not really. But yeah, I know it's something that we need to do. But
yeah, and we have some defaults. The newsletter editor is a default for that committee. I would be a default instead of doing the trifolds for any other reason.
Great. Yeah.
And Doug.
Yes.
We forgot him onto that committee.
Okay. Yeah. And then natural additions to the committee. Yeah. So I think we're going to have, as we progress, we'll have good membership representation on that committee. So, the team that we've carried from the PSCC into this EOC as the school or science fair team. Lee calls it the crew, I believe, or the squad or something to that effect anyway. Yeah, so counting on them all being available.
So David, I did not have Doug Wilson listed on that committee.
No.
I wasn't sure if you had gotten his
I
buy-in.
did see a note from Doug that
He's been on it all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it was, I'll add that.
Yeah, I'm not totally familiar with it still myself.
So that would be 5. You, David Miller, Les, Tony, our editor, Liz Richlow, and Doug.
There we go. Back in business.
All right. Resuming.
Well, and for the recording, we discussed the standing policy that committee chairs are confirmed by the board, and that the chairs can bring people into their committee without action by the board, but that the board can remove committee members for cause. And that when somebody is brought into the board, they need to send it to the secretary in writing. And that also needs to get communicated to the website content manager, whoever that is at the time, to keep it accurate. Is that accurate to everybody's
That sounds
recollection?
good.
Okay, so that's,
Sounds about right.
that's on the recording now.
All right. All right. Well, we'll move on to I got programs listed.
That's me. I haven't done anything.
All right.
I'm depending on you right now because when we had our coffee, you said you had a lot of program ideas.
Yeah, I do.
I haven't gotten involved in actually recruiting anybody to speak right now.
As far as I know,
Down the line for me.
Roy was going to do a presentation on the club's radio and its usage and correct usage.
Yeah.
Hoping that's still on the table for today.
I had talked to him about that.
Okay.
I have to move mine for next month because I won't be on island. I'll be all over the mainland for a couple of weeks. And that is the one where I'm going to take a nano VNA and demonstrate how to do each of the specific tasks that we can do with the VNA. Because we did that previous one about what is a VNA and how is it different than other type. And this is going to be, how do you sweep a balun? How do you sweep an antenna? How do you sweep a filter? How do you, all those various things.
Checking cable impedance and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just won't be here to present that one next month.
Okay.
We still have an invitation from Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency to hold a meeting at their EOC. And of course, I think that program would be on Hawaii County Civil Defense and their EOC and what goes on in there and things like that. But we don't have a task owner to put that together yet.
Okay.
Question for William. So that's May that you're talking about doing the nano VNA suite?
Yeah, at the earliest, yeah.
At the earliest?
Yep.
Okay.
I was hoping to do it for the April meeting, but like I said, I think that I'm going to be on the mainland.
Well, for next month's, as long as things actually make it in a timely fashion, I can actually do a presentation on Meshtastic and at least give the broad strokes over the mesh networking involved in that. That should fill out a program. So that's just one of them in my head. So
on the topic of me not being here, who's going to do the AV that month?
let me try and cobble everything together. I went out of my way and got the lower end microphones, so we'll at least have 2. It'll just be a passing match.
Well, what I was going to say is I'll make sure that I give my stuff to whoever's going to do
I
it.
should bring my laptop, and since it's my Zoom that we're using, I'll bring my laptop
Okay.
next month.
And I was going to display a new camera technique here, but uses the Wi-Fi, and I don't think the county's Wi-Fi is letting it happen. I think that's why it crashed the Wi-Fi momentarily. But yeah, so before I go, I'll make sure that I get the cameras over to you, or the microphones and stuff over to you, Les.
Okay. I can make them work first, so we're ready to go on the meeting day.
Okay, so yeah, dry run and then
Yeah,
perfect.
make sure everything works.
Okay, well, anything else as far as programs go?
We need to get back to having a couple of programs in the bag for when we get caught with a cancellation or something like that. And we ended up a while back using a program that I had in the bag, which was on balance. Tony, do you still have stuff in the bag, or did we deplete you? Because we relied on you heavily a few times to fill in gaps.
Possibly. It'll kind of depend on some of the other actions that we take.
Okay. Well, if everyone could think about maybe having a program in the bag,
Just something in the back of your head,
no, something
like ready
in
to
the
go.
back of your laptop that's ready to go.
Ready to go.
Even if it's a couple of small programs to fill in a day, you don't have to fill the whole hour.
Mhm.
I mean, if you had 3 15-minute presentations with change up time in between, you've got a full program session there. And Tony and I had done that a couple of times where he had, something on MCOM and
Mhm.
I had something on whatever else, but that could also help out. Are you getting any information coming your way, Les, about what people want to see, or is it the typical no?
No,
Yeah.
Did you get the email I sent you with, just a couple months ago or something?
yes,
Okay.
Okay,
How about scheduling the civil defense session?
We need a task owner for that, is what I was saying. Somebody to liaise with Bill.
yeah, if we do that in April, I could.
Okay.
But then from May until the end of July, I'll be on the mainland.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would be able to do it, if you wanted to schedule for June or July.
okay,
How about we shoot for April? It gets it done before the storm season. Because we want to be out of their hair during hurricane season and stuff like that. April is,
and that'd be a physical meeting at Civil Defense.
that's what they
That's what
suggested,
they're asking
is
for.
that we meet in their EOC.
Okay,
So that we can see what it's like when you sit down in the EOC, see what assets they have available to them, but we're also going to have to reach out to them and be like, hey, what can you do to show us all this?
there'd be
while we're
no
there?
Zoom. That would be good. That would be good too if we did that in April, because we just wouldn't have Zoom.
Yeah, you would. It's set up for it.
Well, but they would be running it.
Not necessarily. I mean, they would just be our guest speaker. We would just be in their house. So
Yeah,
we would
well,
still set up.
I don't know if I'd want to go in somebody else's house and say, let me run your network for you.
No, and it doesn't work like that. It's because I present in there all the time.
Yeah, they do. They have a public,
Yeah.
Wi-Fi that,
It's public Wi-Fi and it's simply an HDMI cable and you plug it in and the screen goes up on their screen and it works very well.
just like you would here, same
Okay.
thing. So if we did that, would it be on a Sunday?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. They would be able to,
Well, and that would be probably better for them because their staff isn't there.
Yeah, okay.
So it'd just be, borrowing Bill or Barry or Tom or, one of them for a couple hours on that Sunday.
Yeah.
sounds good.
Where would the board meeting be?
Probably not there because
Yeah.
we don't want to tie up their time as much as
Well, we
possible.
should probably still reserve this site for the board meeting and be sure that the board meeting ends up in time for us to go down there.
Or we just do a quick board meeting on Zoom with no site. I mean, we did board meetings by Zoom for 2 years during
Yeah.
COVID, so we can do it.
Yeah. That'd be easy for me because I'm only a quarter mile away.
Yep.
So do the
Works
board
for me.
meeting on Zoom and then run down the civil defense.
Okay, so who owns the task of coordinating with civil defense?
I'll do it.
Okay, so Les is going to coordinate with civil defense. And I move that if civil defense is amenable to us holding our meeting next month at the EOC, that we hold the board meeting before that club program meeting on Zoom. This is William.
I'll second.
Les seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So motion passed. Joe, did you have something to add to that?
Oh, I was just, wondering, that was just a one-time thing, right?
Yeah.
Just,
They
okay.
just wanted to have us down to their house one time so we could see because they just remodeled. And granted, when I walk in, I don't see a significant difference, but there has to have been a difference. They did a lot of work in there.
Right.
So, it'd be interesting to see.
How it's all laid out and everything.
I see a lot more monitors when I go down than I ever.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the full remodel had to do mostly with HVAC to be able to cool the servers in the back and stuff like that. And I have seen some other changes, especially in the back where it interfaces with jail cells. But it'll be interesting because I mean, if I am on the main line, I'll be on Zoom for that one.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's move on to voice repeaters. William.
Okay, so Bill Ockert, ND0B, and I went up to the Mauna Loa Tower together the week after our last meeting on a Sunday. And he is taking over the KH6ME, I believe is the club's call sign. It's Paul Lieb's old call sign, and it's the Tropo group from California that has the beacons up there that Fred used to run, which is good because their stuff is in horrible condition at the moment, and it looks like he's going to get it tip top. There's a lot of history between individuals at that site, specifically that club and stuff like that. And I'm glad Bill's stepping into that role because he is much newer than all of that, chest thumping and everything that's gone on. And the relationship's going to improve. While I was there, I removed our repeater that had been converted for public safety use. As you guys recall, about a year ago, the club supported the Hawaii County Fire Department's request to deploy a repeater up there on what we call a must-carry interoperability frequency, a public safety frequency, because the Mauna Loa Observatory trunked radio site, P25 site, was lost because the power was lost. The equipment's still stranded up there, but the power was lost at the site. The network connectivity was lost to the site, which left the area of Saddle Road and specifically Fire Station 50, which is manned by the U.S. Army Fire Department, without radio comms. So they are now up on a temporary solution, and the second temporary repeater we set up, which is down at the compound, is still in use, but the one at the Mauna Loa Tower site is no longer needed. That repeater had started alarming, giving alarm tone over the air, so I just removed it completely so I could bring it back and eventually bench it and see what it's complaining about. And in place, I put the DR1X Yaesu repeater that I had removed from Pepakea. It is on the 442-575+5 with a tone of 100. And it's there just for experimentation at the moment. It's not the long-term solution that we're going to put in there, but at least we now have a repeater that covers Saddle. And ultimately, what we're going to do, the repeater committee has said that we're going to take the gateway that we're building to provide remote access to the Kalani repeater, and we're going to add a second radio to it, and we're going to point that second radio at this 70-centimeter repeater. It's going to cover Saddle, and that will immediately link it to Kalani. So Kalani will now have a 70-centimeter repeater that links for going all the way over Saddle.
Good.
Now, on that antenna, I have talked through the repeaters on Oahu several times, that top of tower antenna. It just barely makes it. We are now looking at replacing that repeater with a 2-meter repeater with a much higher gain antenna, because that will give us better coverage down to lower altitudes, not just the hilltops on Oahu, and augment the coverage that we don't have from Mauna Kea when it's not available. there's gonna have to be some coordination with the Beacon Club because they have a 2-meter transmitter up there that we need to make sure doesn't blow our receiver out, and we need to make sure that we don't intermodulate with and all sorts of other stuff. So there's probably going to be some filtering requirements, which is going to be good. They could use some better filtering than what they have, and that the filtering for the intermodulation between these 2 transmitters will actually help get rid of the spurs that we always see from that 2-meter beacon. So that is in flight at this time. I spoke with Frank Roth, ROFF, who is KH6BFD last night, and he asked to join the BIARC repeater committee. He is a member. He lives over on Conaside, if you guys don't know who he is, and he runs some repeaters over there. And we'd always talked about linking his into the BIARC system as it gets built, and we're moving forward with that. And by adding him directly to the committee, he's in on the planning and can also help with the work parties, because you guys know that's my biggest need is I need experienced people who can go out and, you know, deal with antennas and towers and duplexers and all that stuff. And he's done that stuff several times, and that'll be a big help.
He's also an active APRS person.
He is.
Yep.
So there's a status update on the Eole High project. I met with Talmadge Magno, the head of Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency, and discussed the approval that I've had for a number of years. It actually started in 2020, right at the start of COVID, which is what delayed it, to put equipment, including a weather station, at the Eole High Tower site on the flank of Mauna Kea, Mauka of Laupahoehoe. He remembers that approval, and I had mentioned to him that VOAB would also like to have equipment be able to come through there, including microwave link to Haleakala, and he was amenable to that. So he is supportive of amending the scope for my approved project to include VOAD, which would also open up other possibilities as well about getting linked to Haleakala and things of that nature. So we need to have another meeting about that with Civil Defense, but that falls under our existing Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with the county. So no additional action by the board is required. We're just, well, thank you, Windows Security. We're just amending the scope of what we said we were going to put up there. So that scope currently includes a tower, which was donated to the club. It was owned by Hawaii Community College, University of Hawaii, and was originally put up there by AH6JA, Harvey. And when the school wanted to throw it away, I said no, and it fell under my program when I was there, and I donated it to the club, which means it's currently littering my lawn. But so that's the tower that'll go up. There's an existing tower foundation that is for a much larger tower that we can use to anchor that to. And then a few other pieces. However, there will be expenditures from that the club will not be able to cover. So I would like the permission of the board in my discussions with VOAD on the project to request that they fund the microwave radios and antennas to be able to perform that linking, plus other ancillaries such as batteries and solar components and things of that nature. Go ahead, Les.
I would suggest that we delay that until we've had the Public Service Communications Committees able to provide their reports, because they have some action items there that might impact how that is carried out.
Okay, let's put this into new business at the bottom. So after we get that report, we can come back to it.
All right. Yeah, we'll loop back to that. Well, let's move on to old business.
You've not covered all the committees.
Operating activities.
PSCC.
Oh. How did I go past you? Joe.
Basically, all I have is the quarterly workshops, and if there's any update on that.
There is. As you guys know, I've because we were having such a hard time getting everything coordinated, I'm going to do the quarterly workshops at my QTH out in my shed. I call it a shed because that's what the county calls it. It's actually not that bad of a building. It could be called an ohana, you know, a little guest house, but currently doing the rewiring and everything on it. But I've extended the network down there. I've got temporary power set up. And I'm currently moving in the shelves and tables, and everything that I need to be there to put the test equipment on to then be able to do these technical workshops. I believe that I won't be ready until after I get back from Orlando in April. So sometime after April, I plan on holding the first one, which will be centered on testing radios. Not repair, just testing radios.
There's a radio over there for you to start with.
Okay,
If somebody wants it, it's free.
which one is that?
The big radio, big old Kenwood there.
Okay,
Might take you up on that. Tuner. Anything else as far as operating activities?
Just what we have planned for later on, like, you know,
well,
field days.
we successfully had an operating activity.
Yeah.
The POTA.
Oh, yeah, you know what, because it was weird, I thought originally that was gonna be under auspices of BIARC, it was supposed to be a BIARC event, and then Sean wrote, oh, it's not a BIARC event, and so I just.
It's probably for the better, just in case, considering there was supposed to be a fee attached and everything else.
No, there was not supposed to be a fee attached.
Yes.
I reached out to Jack, the chief ranger,
I saw that.
and Jack said, I don't know why they're asking for that.
Mhm.
So, no,
You
it was,
misunderstood something.
yeah. And that whole fee thing, that was for, oh, I forgot the other operator who is doing his other one.
Mhm.
That was for his request, not for ours.
Gotcha.
So I cleared ours with Chief Ranger.
All
So,
right.
no, that's good. No, it really was a BIARC thing. We voted to make it a BIARC thing. We voted to let the club's radio get used.
That was what I was under the impression of, and then I saw what Sean had wrote in, I don't remember, it was Ford Meeting Net or whatever it was, he put a blurb in there.
Just miscommunication.
Okay.
Well, at the very least, at least Frank had his QRP radio, and we made 2 contacts, technically.
I heard Roy made a bunch on 12 and 17.
Roy was booming. Roy was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for some reason we couldn't use the club's radio. What did we,
Apparently, the power cable is in the case with the antenna, or somewhere else. I'm not quite sure, but I would like to actually make a list of things that go with it. That way, it can be checked off.
Yeah.
And
Let's see.
we'll have it all together.
The other Jim Tater said he had put the power thing underneath something, so maybe he just didn't find it. I don't know.
Maybe.
well, that's why we practice with
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
this. So
And I think the
it sounds like there was
batteries,
a lesson learned there.
the batteries got disassociated from the radio itself, so
Batteries
with 2 different
with
parties,
me.
so
Yeah, like
couldn't
after
use
that,
it.
I end up with the battery. I'll put it on my charger, and I'll make sure it goes to the next person that needs it. And I'll just put it out there in the email.
Well, I think-
you go with Roy.
I think
Well, yeah, there we
ultimately
go.
what we should do is actually have an accountability system for this, like T cards or something like that, that tells us, number one,
Tony, that should be March 6th. That's when we had the meeting.
tells us what is the storage location of each one of these devices, because, I mean, we still do not yet have centralized storage and still haven't found one we can afford.
Right.
So until we can do that, when they are staying at our homes, we need to actually keep a record of who has what, but then also what should be in each case. Like the power cord needs to stay with the radio, not go with the battery or go with the antenna, stuff like that. Lessons learned. Bob AH6J has entered the room for the recording.
All right, and I haven't skipped anybody now.
Yes, you have.
Have I?
Public Service Communications Committee.
Thought we did that right after program. Public Service Communications, Wes.
Okay, we had a meeting on March 6th at the request of Tony, who had some major inputs from BOAD and Civil Defense. And we did make a recommendation, a motion to make a recommendation to the board as a result of that committee meeting. So I'd like to have Tony talk about the report since the meeting was held at his request. And then after he's through, we have an addendum of information that came to us just recently. That would be just an attachment to that report. And then I have a couple of comments that look into the future for that committee as the new chair.
Okay, so here is the report from the meeting that Les sent. And I'm gonna try to blow that up a little bit. A bit more legible.
Yep.
So did everybody get this?
I did.
So we had some updates, just general informational updates on ARRL. And we covered the fact that the science history thing is moved over to the Education and Outreach Committee. And then we talked about civil defense and the fact that I met with them on March 1st, and they want to continue our relationships with BOAD, BIARC. We also discussed their repeater situation on Montea. So that's not operational yet. We don't have a date, but they are working on it on a priority basis. And so I can confirm that. I'm getting feedback from lots of different people on things that are going on there. So as far as BOAD, talked a little bit about how we fit together. So right now, it still falls under the PSCC, and David Miller's on the PSCC. He's our contact for BIARC with BOAD. He attends the meetings. I attend the BOAD meetings as the statewide contact for ARES. And in our meeting on the 1st, we talked about ways that we can work together between BOAD, Civil Defense, BIARC, ARES, and other groups. That's an ongoing conversation. So I wanted to emphasize that anybody in BIARC or ARES being members of BOAD is a part of this group. They can participate in all of our nets and all of our meetings and other activities. So if you want more information about the dates and so forth and the Zoom links, David and I are the one to ask about that. BOAD has a monthly meeting. We rotate the topic of the meeting. So 1 month it will be a general membership meeting. The next month it'll be a working group meeting. So I'm typically on the communications working group channel. And what's the third meeting? Oh, the island. So the third meeting is the island. So basically every quarter our Hawaii Island BOAD meets. All of those members to discuss organization of the Hawaii Island BOAD. Removal of the repeaters pushed back to the 19th, and don't be surprised if it gets pushed back again. Nobody understands how complicated that endeavor is. Anything on the mountain, it's crazy complexity. All the agencies that are having to fit together to make anything happen. frankly, I'm glad BOAD doesn't have to coordinate this. I'm glad that civil defense is coordinating it. There has been a lot of talk about FIARC, Aries, and BOAD working together in an effort to explore the build out of a statewide repeater system. And that talk has included several people making offers of equipment and funding. So one of the things we'll get into here in a second is a motion on that. Do you think it's appropriate to do that now?
For us to make that motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you read it in the report, it will constitute a motion.
Okay.
Because, and then we'll have one of the committee members that are here second it.
All right. So that's this paragraph where I noted the importance of a whole of community approach to disaster communications. And so my motion here is at the bottom. I move that the PSCC recommends and they pass that. So I'd like to make the motion that the BIARC Executive Board form a special committee consisting of members representing the PSCC, voice repeaters, and digital systems committee to explore plans and options for working together with Hawaii BOAD, Aries, and other stakeholders in the amateur radio community towards the establishment of a statewide linked repeater system for the purpose of emergency communications and INCOM training.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I want to reread this verbatim. Special committee. So you're forming an ad hoc committee within the PSCC?
No. This is a board level.
Board level committee.
Okay, wouldn't that require actually to be voted on by the membership under our current constitution and bylaws?
No,
How no?
I think the board can establish an ad hoc committee anytime it wants to. As part of its management responsibilities.
I'd like a read of the appropriate language of the constitution and
We
bylaws.
can't form a permanent committee.
No, that's what this is asking.
Discussed in the bylaw. No, this is an ad hoc temporary.
Okay, I had
committee.
asked, is this an ad hoc committee? And you
That's
said
what
no.
he said. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
ad hoc
temporary
committee
committee.
we can do.
So should I have used the word ad hoc instead of special?
Well, okay, ad hoc. Yeah, that works.
There's special words. I can accept special as ad hoc. It's just, I wasn't clear. Are we
The
making
committee
a?
would dissolve once that.
Yeah. I thought you were making a permanent committee when you said no. Okay.
We've got a second. Discussion.
Wait for him to be clear on the reading there.
What about stakeholders not in the amateur radio community?
Can
We have no
anyone
control over
identify
that.
any stakeholders other than BOAD? Because BOAD's mentioned.
The state of Hawaii, DAGS, ETS.
Okay, there's an interesting topic to bring up because I have gotten a lot of pushback from the amateur radio community, various stations that I've talked to around the state, about this idea of our linked repeater system depending on county and state infrastructure. Number of people are very adverse to that idea.
Until we're going to be able to afford our own tower sites on top of Mauna Kea and Haleakala and places like that, Kalani, we need them.
So I think the biggest, we've got Mauna Loa. So I think Haleakala is probably the key one in this whole picture.
No, there's also
club, right?
there's also the county at Eole High.
Well, it being on county property is a different thing than it being a county controlled repeater.
Okay, but if the county controls the power,
I see this mostly as a repeater design issue. Where the repeaters might be located and the agreements that you have to have with the various agencies or county civil defense in order to use a certain facility. But I see this committee as being responsible for how are these repeaters going to be interconnected? What is the goal? Are
Yeah, we have a repeater committee for that.
Who holds the control zones? is the
That's,
key.
yeah, that, it's more than what a repeater committee could do because it involves cooperation with the whole state,
With BOAD.
Yeah,
with VOAD.
I disagree. I think it becomes too many cooks at that point.
Well, right now, we only have one cook.
Yeah, and that is a problem. But we have one cook and one person out there in the field. We don't need more people telling that one cook when and where to do stuff. That one cook would definitely resign at that point.
So we have the BOAD Communications Working Group,
Yeah.
and they have at least 3 repeaters with antennas and duplexers ready to go and some various equipment. Probably 4. So we're talking on Oahu and Maui and the Big Island. So that, I would consider that another cook. Do you have an objection to that? I mean,
Well, that's another cook in another organization.
we cook together.
Yeah, the cooks from the organizations get together and collaborate. But you don't need 4 cooks in one organization with 3 cooks telling the other cook, hey, you know, you're going to do it this way, not the way that your committee has said that they're going to do it, or this or that. And then we still only have 1 cook actually going out in the world and doing anything. But now he has to do things in a very inconvenient manner because the 3 other cooks said, oh no, it's got to be this brand, or it's got to be, you know, installed this way or that way. And
How about 2 cooks cooking 2 different dishes that are served together on the
kind of
same
like
plate?
digital systems and voice repeaters, all tying into one network?
No, us having a separate set of repeaters. So there's the BIARC repeaters, there's some BOAD repeaters. They can be linked together dynamically using a common linking system, such as the All-Star technology. But BOAD remains responsible for the installation and maintenance of their repeaters. BIARC remains responsible for the installation and maintenance of BIARC repeaters. But we have agreements in place for how we would dynamically link them, change the linking during an emergency potentially, or during an emergency training.
Okay, but they wouldn't be linked for normal amateur use?
Permanent full-time link, no, it's dynamic. I mean, there could be, that's something that needs to be hammered out. But the idea would be that additional repeaters could link from a variety of sources, including potentially county and state.
Yeah, county's never going to put up a repeater. Bill's got a stack of 20 Quantars and 10 duplexers, 50 antennas, and they've been sitting there for 15 years. And they've never once installed but 1 of them, and that was only because Tim Richards, when he was a county councilman, threatened their funding because somebody in his district complained about it.
So what's the implications of that? And what are you saying that we should do?
Well, and I'm hesitant to let ourselves depend on any of these other organizations that have never done anything. So say, okay, well, let's not build out our project because we're going to bring in these other people and they're going to build parts of it. No, they're not. Or we're going to have to go build it for them. And if we got to do that, why don't we just continue to do it in-house? Now that we finally have additional members like Frank Roth stepping up to say, hey, yeah, I'll help you go out in the field and I can maintain the equipment over here.
So what about the Maui and Oahu portion and eventually Hawaii? I didn't think we were in a position to be doing work over there.
Why not? Especially Maui, it points right at the north end of our island. If we want to cover the north end of our island, we kind of have to put something on Maui.
Well, because other than you, we don't have any other BIARC members that would be able to fly to Maui or Oahu, and we're not in a position to pay for that.
That's right.
Okay, so we need to bring in more members. I mean, I just got 2 people in the last 30 days after 3 years of waiting for help. 2 years in the last, or 2 people in the last 30 days. And I mean, we haven't even had a chance to see the results out of that yet. I mean, in just the last couple of weeks, we've had a member go to a repeater site and do maintenance. So
you're thinking that the Maui Amateur Radio Club, and there's no club on Oahu that has anyone capable of installing a repeater in it?
no, I think that they've been blacklisted by the agencies that would participate in such a thing. Right now, if you go to the state of Hawaii, Department of Accounting and General Services, Enterprise Technology Systems Office, and say, I want to put an amateur radio anything at the Haleakala site, they're going to tell you to leave. But if BIARC does it, they'll let it in. It's taken a lot of work to get there.
Yeah, really.
They will not let the EARC into that site. They're blacklisted from it.
Well, I could certainly see BIARC being, I use the word primary stakeholder. Maybe I could make that even stronger. As far as on the technical side, I think that VOAD is more taking the lead role on the coordination side, because there are various groups that have amateur radio operators on Oahu specifically, but also some on Maui, that would want to be able to make use of this
And
system.
that's the appropriate role for VOAD, is for them to work out getting things into the sites, not to determine what the linking standards are, not to determine what the hardware standards are.
Yeah, that would be a role of the Voice Repeaters Committee and the Digital Systems Committee.
Yeah,
And then the Public Service Communications Committee's role would be to try to coordinate with VOAD and others to work out things like standard operating guidelines.
yes. So that has a cook for this and a cook for that, not 2 cooks, with one cook telling the other cook what recipe to cook.
So your issue was just with defining the roles more clearly, is what we're talking about.
Duplication of efforts, number 1. And then this always devolves into a pissing match about, oh no, you have to deploy a Yaesu repeater there because it's made by an amateur radio manufacturer. You can't deploy a Motorola repeater there because I don't like Motorola, whatever the case may be.
Okay, so my motion says explore plans and options for working together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
And we're fleshing that out.
Yeah, we're fleshing that out. So the question is the language of that motion, explore plans and options? Basically, I would say that the things that you just described, as part of this special committee that we're talking about, we would get together and we would discuss exactly those concerns that you were raising and come up with more refined language that we recommend to the board at the next meeting that fleshes that out to address those very concerns that you described.
I think we discussed this long enough. I'd like to call for the question.
I vote no.
Well, yet the president hasn't called for a vote yet.
Was seconded already.
Yes,
Who seconded?
I did.
Les did. I know.
Okay.
Now I vote no. Or have you called for a vote yet?
All in favor?
No.
Okay. I'm abstaining from voting. I'd like to see more of this fleshed out before it becomes an issue. And both sides have valid reasoning towards wanting to know more about this before it even becomes a thing. It would be nice to table this until the next meeting, just to have a little bit more.
We're at the voting point. Let's vote for the motion. It's too late to table it. Let's vote for them. Either vote it up or vote it down.
It's
what was the
it's not
vote?
clean. There was inadequate discussion before a motion was ever made. My vote is no. How many other no's were there? Any? None. Okay, so 1 no.
Yes.
So it passes.
Okay, so it passes.
And all we're doing here is exploring plans and options. This is just the formal framework to start talking about things.
Yeah, if we have all those plans and options predefined already, there'd be no reason for the motion.
Gotcha.
Well, a lot of it has been predefined, but it was predefined in the committee that predefines things
But
for
we don't
reviewers.
know that we're in agreement with all of the other stakeholders. You know,
Yeah,
so this is a way, we give some responsibility to people to find out.
Okay. Well, all of the committee reports, I haven't missed anything now.
Yes, now we have to set up the committee that you just voted for.
For that. Okay. Does anybody want to be head of this committee? I mean, does anybody want to lead it up?
I'll volunteer.
Tony? Anyone else?
I second.
That sounds good.
Second. All right. Well, all in favor? Tony being heading up this committee there.
aye.
All right. All right. Tony, congratulations. I look forward to seeing what you cobble together with this. Now, moving on to old business there. I know we're at the, Les.
I still have a few thoughts on the Public Service Communications Committee that
Oh.
I had indicated I wanted to bring up. We traded places here basically as committee chairs. And so Public Service Communications has always been, was a primary reason I got involved in this hobby. And I've contacted a couple of organizations as far as providing communication services. And I will continue to work with those organizations and make some proposals through the Public Service Communications Committee. But the two organizations I've contacted so far, one is East Hawaii Kiwanis. They do a parking lot control for Imiloa a couple of times a year. And they get so many people there in Imiloa that their parking lot easily fills up and they start using parking over by the pharmacy school and down by the language, Hawaiian language building. And they need communications to find out what's full and where. And so this would involve 3 or 4 hands with handhelds working with Hawaiians who are directing parking. And the other one is the international, the Hilo International Marathon. They're currently using to follow the last runners and the last walkers. They're using people on these 2-wheel things. And I'm going to put together a proposal where we could take a radio like this one.
Something that does APRS?
Running APRS and putting it on those cycles. The operator of the cycle is not the operator of the radio. And then a screen like that at the headquarters that shows precisely, minute after minute, where the back ends of their races are. I've worked with clubs on the mainland that do this, and the people that run the races love it. And it's not on an APRS frequency. It's moved off to a different frequency, so it doesn't hinder normal APRS operations, which means that not only you have to have these, but you need to have a couple of relay points appointed that will give you coverage of the area. So I'll be talking with them about that. I've already contacted one of the people that's responsible, but I have not met with the group as a whole. So those are a couple of the public service communications ideas that I've been tossing around.
Okay. All right. So that's all for public service communications for now. Keep us updated as far as what they want and how we could help serve them. It is the community. I'd like to see us out there. Usually when I tell folks about our existence. They want to know more, but sometimes the timing of our meetings is off. Maybe more people will actually join soon. We'll see how it goes. Moving on to old business, the permanent storage update. And this was permanent storage for the
For
This is for-
everything.
for everything. Gotcha.
The club has an immense amount of stuff that needs to be stored, from repeaters and radios to banners to
Towers.
towers to
Yeah.
cabinets to chairs to I've got a folding table that I think might have been the club's. I got it from Pascal, so I don't know if he was just like, hey, you'll need this, or hey, this was the club's, but might as well let it be the club's, you know.
Yeah.
I just set it up in my shed so that the club can have somewhere to sit to do the radio testing, stuff
Gotcha.
like that. So the lending library, that's another big need, is we have a library. The battery and all this other stuff that's spread about. We don't have,
A central location for it.
yeah, I mean, easy access to anything too. That's the other thing. I have not yet come across anything that is within the budget of $100 per month, which was set.
Mhm.
There is a storage company in the Shipman Business Park that occasionally has units that come up at $66 and $88 per month, depending on which ones they are. But because everything works at the speed of the board here, I have to wait and come to the next board meeting to say, hey, it's open. And by the time I get to it, it's always
Close.
taken.
Yeah, take it.
Didn't we make a motion and say, like, give you permission to just go ahead? If you-
Yeah, I had asked. The motion didn't get a second
Really?
at that time. Yeah,
Can we bring the motion up again? I'll second it.
sure.
Bring it up.
Well, I'm doing the expenditure. It's probably not appropriate for me to
Oh.
move to authorize expenditures.
Well, I mean, with the budget of $100,
But that's $100 per month,
yeah.
$1,200 a year.
$1,200 a year. That's tight on our budget as
Oh,
it is.
Yeah.
Do we have a list? Oh, no, we've already discussed. We don't have a list of everything, and it's kind of scattered all about. We can get a general summary of what needs to be stored. I can look as well, trying to ease the burden here just a little bit, but I do move that you have free will if something becomes available, especially to get things out of your hair there. I mean, it'd be good to just get it done.
Well, so you say you move to give me free will, but what I specifically would like is, if we're going to give me the authority to enter into a lease when the unit becomes available, that I be given a dollar amount for the monthly rent that I'm authorized to engage in before I have to come back to the board.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I have not looked. There might be one available right now. We could look and see, but go ahead, Les.
I make a motion to authorize William to contract with a storage facility for up to $80 a month.
I'll second.
I mean,
Discussion, Tony, how does that look in our budget? What is that gonna do to us? Well, first off, where can we pull that from?
$960 a year. What we're talking about.
$960, yeah.
Taxes inclusive.
Well, I think we might have to cut back some areas, and we might have to really focus on beefing up the membership a little bit. Under that situation, we might not be able to afford equipment insurance. You know, if we're spending that much on storage, that could be one area we could get some of that money from.
But then again, if we ever were to have equipment insurance, that storage might be where we want it.
Yeah, and we know what's in there, so we can.
Because like
inventory it much
The
better.
991A would be in there. I mean, that's a pricey asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be done. It would take some thought to how we work our budget. You know, it might impact our equipment budget. We might have to reduce, you know, the amount of money we spend on new equipment.
Well,
And
Would-
maybe
would
do
that-
a-
would that budget be the appropriate line to cover that under? Because it is for housing the equipment amongst a few other things. Although I consider the lending library equipment.
Yeah, one of the things we could do there is have that as a separate value, storage expenses, and encourage independent donations for that purpose.
Actually,
As a way of establishing and getting it going.
I think, because we had converted the repeater fund into the infrastructure fund, right?
Yeah,
So, and since this is to support that infrastructure, I think we could include that as a part of the larger infrastructure drive and say, hey, we've had to get the storage unit to put our infrastructure hardware in. We have that now monthly expense, and
Yeah.
we've got this project and we're gonna need this hardware. Got this project, and we're gonna need this hardware.
And just encourage people to make a, you know, if you had 50 members that made a $5 donation.
yeah, we could pull it off. And it's not important what we call it. It's important making it balance at the bottom line, you know?
It's important for what we call it only as to how do we solicit donations
Right.
for things like when we ask people to put money into the humanitarian fund and or alternatively, the infrastructure fund with the excess from whatever they pay from their dues or things of that nature. That's
Yeah,
why.
I mean, the
Just let them
infrastructure
know that
fund
the
is,
infrastructure fund includes storage.
For the
it says
infrastructure, yeah.
maintenance, you know, in its description, so. I would say storage falls under maintenance.
Is 80 enough?
Well, at the moment, I can't get one at all. So yes, that would at least because that'd be a good deal. If we could get a storage unit for 80 or under, taxes included, that'd be a good deal. And that would allow me to jump on it right then when it becomes open and not have to wait till the next board meeting to bring it up.
Right.
Or even just do an emergency vote by email, which still wouldn't have been fast enough the last time that happened.
Now, can I just throw out one more thing?
Yeah.
I have an outbuilding that's about 12 by 15 concrete floor. Its roof is leaking. I'm not using it. About 12 foot by 15 foot. Got a nice door, solid door. I just need a roof repair.
Due to the nature of what we're storing, I would still prefer a climate controlled unit.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking at is a climate controlled unit. That way the books don't rot, the electronics don't, get corroded or have tin whiskers form, all that other stuff.
Could we throw this out to the group at today's meeting and see if anybody has,
Sure, I'd love to do that again.
Okay,
Motion is on the floor.
motion to
$80?
Motion to approve.
the $80 budget towards the storage of our equipment.
No, so authorize $80 expense.
There we go,
Per month.
per month.
And it also authorizes me to engage in the initiation of the contract on behalf of BIARC
Right.
without the need for any other board member to sign.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it was seconded.
I
over.
said,
There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, yeah. Thank you for going out there and doing that.
Good.
One more piece of old business, the fire department location update. Was there any update?
I know I was gonna have a call with Ian at the fire department, but then they had a fire and I canceled our call.
Okay.
I'll revisit with him. But since what comes first is we need to get the results of the survey. I'm not really urgent or thinking I need to urgently have that meeting because I'd rather have the results of the survey, know what day of the week we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm still working on trying to flesh out a survey that doesn't cost money and one that actually comes across as an actual survey and not just as a list of a party and what you will bring to it, because you can't edit a lot of the things that when I went into the app that Lee had sent me, it literally just is for parties. If I wanted to edit anything, it would become a cost. And then, yeah, so, I mean, unless I could find something and do a survey via Reddit or
Well-
anything else.
How about this? Could we get somebody to write up the code? There's gig work available. It could be relatively cheap to have somebody write the code to be able to have it on our own website and have, they enter their call sign. It does a lookup automatically for, are you a current member? And flags that in the survey results. And then we can just simply enter in the questions and collect on our own website.
That's good, because then later on, if we have another survey or another questionnaire that needs to be put out there, at least we'd have the infrastructure set for the website.
Yeah, well, and that code may actually already be out there somewhere that you can grab
A
it.
snippet, yeah.
Actually, Google Forms could likely do this, and that's.
There was an aspect of Google that was recently removed in July of 2023, where it was a free survey form that you could actually just put out there to any Google site or, add it to a page, but it's gone. That's why I was
do
confused.
surveys all the time on my Boad workspace.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah, what do you use?
I use Google Forms.
Okay.
How hard would it be to put one up and
How
make
many
it
questions
accessible?
we talking about? Just one?
Well, periodically it'd just be one question, but periodically it could be like 5.
For now, it would just be the one.
No, it'd
So-
be 2 actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it depends. It's pretty easy for, if you're just asking, do you prefer Saturday or Sunday? It's when you get, that's easy. And it just logs the response to the Google Sheet, right? No problem. And you can also go back and edit your response if you want, because it sends you a link that confirms, and you can click the link and change your response if you want to. Where it gets difficult is, like if you're wanting to do calendaring, for example, and you're wanting to the more options you put, the different kinds of options, that's where it can, like if you want to collect free form information, then it gets a little hairy.
Well, we're just trying to get would Saturdays be amenable to most
That's
people
easy.
or Sundays? And that's
Yeah.
literally it.
Yeah,
Do you think maybe you can,
yeah.
Put it out there
I can deploy it. Yeah.
okay, if that's doable, then thank you.
So I
And
didn't volunteer before because I thought this was an easy problem to solve and anybody would be able to solve it.
I thought there were still a million polling apps and everything else that were free, and everything wants my social security number and I don't know how much money. It's kind of like trying to find insurance. You don't know until
You give
after.
me your social security number, I'll tell you how much money.
All right.
Okay, I'll work with you directly on that.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep in touch with you, and yeah, we'll keep it simple. I'm not going to ask the world.
What's our timing on this? It'd be kind of nice to have the firehouse option,
Well, I'd like it before the May meeting because the May meeting is the membership meeting. And that way, if we are going to vote to do a change, we should do the vote there at the membership meeting and let the vote be of the membership.
What's the possibility of the firehouse looking like? Is there?
It's not going to be in time for the May meeting. Nothing with the county works any faster than the speed of smell.
Speed of what?
Smell.
Well, that's pretty fast. I'd say it goes even slower.
Oh, yeah.
So does that mean, that's the reason why we're asking this question, right? Because the firehouse would be on the same.
Well, and that was to see if we even need to switch venues because we can't have this venue on Saturday. Although maybe we can. We haven't asked lately.
So the question is, almost moot if we don't have permission from the county.
No, if the club still wants to meet on Saturdays, we will still keep working hard to find a location to move to.
Not tie those
But
two
if-
together.
But if people want to meet on Sundays and have to deal with moving meetings because of Super Bowls and
Every other.
Easter and,
I'm just thinking how we phrase the question. So it sounds like we're gonna phrase it, would you prefer to meet on Saturday or something?
yeah, but then
Simple as
you've
that.
also got to include the other information, give them an informed decision.
Other information such as. this
We're asking because we've had,
The disadvantages of Sunday and the disadvantages of Saturday.
yeah,
with respect to the firehouse location.
no, with respect to any location.
Well, what is that? I mean, it's just Sunday, we have to change it from time to time. That's a disadvantage.
And
Saturday, some people work.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that, Tom?
And on top of that, some people celebrate the Sabbath on different days.
I'm not sure if we had to point that out. Those are kind of obvious. But if you've got the language, I got the feel.
Okay, yeah, I'll go over phrasing and all of the ups and downs that this might include, and then we'll figure this part out.
You don't have to list all the ups and downs. The point I'm making out is you just kind of have to make a general statement. This is why we're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Building availability and individuals' schedules, holiday conflicts.
Okay.
Those are the,
Thank you, Tony. Okay. Back to this. Any new business, update on insurance plans? You
We made a
update this.
motion to defer.
Update on Kulani Cone Gateway and work parties.
I met with Civil Defense. Well, I was already there meeting with Civil Defense for business, but I talked to Civil Defense about some of the club's ongoing projects. And everything kind of got put on hold when Scott lost his job at DIT, and then they picked him up at Civil Defense and the radio systems manager. He, not just for amateur radio stuff, he's just stopped all approvals. So I don't know if we're still going to be able to install the microwave or not. Talking to Talmadge, sounds like we are, but I still don't have the actual written approval from Scott. I'm leaning towards just installing it since I have Talmadge's approval, and because nobody's getting Scott's approval on anything, even emergency tower deconstructions for
Why
a
was
tower that's
that?
fallen over.
Why has he stopped making approvals?
No, Scott never gave approvals. So, okay, the radio systems manager used to be John Drummond, then Ron Solomsauce, and then it was vacant, and now it is Scott, who used to be the director of DIT for the county. When he came in, he essentially got no handoff because Ron had already been gone for a month. So he didn't know that 50 projects in the world had been approved involving his tower sites. And people started to do work, and Scott came and said, well, I never approved that. No, but the county did. Your predecessor did. And a couple of times he said, well, I didn't approve it. You need to stop. So
we still could ask.
I have asked. I talked to Talmadge. And because Talmadge is the only one there that was in that conversation, been there long enough to remember that it happened. And he said, sounds good to him. I'll talk about it with Scott and have him get back to you. But that didn't happen. Scott didn't, Talmadge probably talked to him, but Scott didn't get back to me. So I need to get full approval. It needs to be legitimate before I go up there and bolt something to their tower. I don't want to jeopardize our being able to be at the site at all. I mean, you guys, some of you will remember just getting into that site is a very tenuous, touchy situation. So that's where that currently sits. The 98% of the hardware is on hand. The rest of it is just we got to get at the hardware store the day before. And the microwave dishes are there, the switches are there, the cable is there. I'm gonna need to get some RJ45 connectors because I'm out. So I got to order for the company when they come in, that. And then we need to do a work party, which brings us to access. The access to Kulani Tower has been restored through the prison, not through the back gate, which means that you have to be able to pass the prison's background check to get through. And only people who are sponsored can do that, which tightens the work party significantly. So that'll be myself, Paul DeCoste. We can probably get Les and Tony, since they've got fire department credentials. I can probably get them sponsored by the fire department. but we're gonna have to work on getting the three other members who are gonna be active in the work parties who've just recently stepped up in the last 30 days. One of them is Bill back there, ND0B, who went to Mauna Loa with me, and he worked on the beacons. I worked on the repeater like I talked about. And Sean, WH6GWZ, and Frank Roth, KH6BFD. So we need to figure out a way to get them approval on a sponsor through the prison to do the work party.
Question. So all of the CERT people, including David and I, the county did criminal background checks on us just this year. Is that gonna work?
It's not that you have the background check, it's that the prison needs to do a background check on you.
But they won't accept.
I-
the background
they
check.
won't accept my federal clearance. I mean, they talked to my second grade teacher about stuff. What did I used to draw in class? And that's not good enough for the prison. They have to run their background check. And for that to happen, you have to have a sponsor. So all that said, I am willing to sponsor all of them through my company like I did before. But that's only that's the one cook problem that we still have. I mean, what happens when I go? If I go, I get hit by a bus. I mean, how are people going to have access? I'd like a better solution than that.
So what's the deal with the other access?
The back access, after the boo-boo that the county did up there by bringing in outside soil to fix the road, they found out people were going through that back gate, and they found invasive species along the trail. So they want people to use that as little as possible. So for cone access, they want us to go through the prison. So I can still use it. I still have the keys. I can go in and out in an emergency. So it's still the emergency exit. But
So the property that's run by Kamehameha Schools,
what's that?
is that the property that's run by Kamehameha? or-
No, it's DLNR. It's the what's the name of the Hawaiian crow? The Maka'ala Forest Reserve.
Okay, because Kamehameha had a finger in there too, didn't they?
That's the property on the other side of the cone. To get to that property, which is where the old tower we used to be on was, you had to drive through the DLNR property to get there.
Yeah.
So the county's tower site is on Camp School's property. The old tower site is on Camp School's property. But the road right up to the cone and the prison and all that, that's all DLNR. So if anybody has ideas, like maybe if civil defense would sponsor it or, something like that. If VOAD's going to be doing their own thing with repeaters, if that is ever a thing, they're going to need that access as well. So maybe we could get that coordination done with and for them.
It would be on other islands, not this island.
Yeah, but they may also want to access stuff if it's a whole system. Who knows?
I just couldn't see them needing Kulani. That's more fire.
Yeah, but I mean, if they wanted to add a system up there, I mean, I'm just not ruling them out. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to involve everybody. So in the meantime, I'll sponsor them as interns through Pacific Infrastructure Group to be able to get access. But yeah, we need to have a way to where if I get hit by a bus, the club's not SOL. And
Okay.
I don't know.
Who at the county, would it be Talmadge that I'd have to talk to about this topic? If we wanted the county to sponsor us?
Talmadge, or he might refer to Scott. He refers all that side stuff to Scott. The alternative is that we could approach the prison and say, hey, we have equipment up at the tower and we would like to sponsor our own individuals for access. The last time I asked for that, it was a different warden, and what she said was, you're not on a lease up there, so no. So that's why we had to have a sponsorship through an agency or company that is up there. And that's when I sponsored before, because our
MOA with civil defense probably wouldn't be good enough for the prison.
I don't know, we could try. I mean, that for the club, that would be the best option if we could control that all on our own.
Yeah.
that would be worth exploring. You know, maybe if the MOA isn't good enough, maybe we get $1 a year contract with the county. Is that impossible?
Well, no, I don't think that would satisfy the state. The state's looking at the leases.
I mean, a lease. They do those kinds of leases. But, I'm just
I don't know.
grabbing at straws.
Don't know.
Okay, so
But I mean, that's always the sticky wicket with some of those sites is that just getting the permission to get in and work is a political minefield. And we want to be very careful with the site. We don't want to lose it. We barely got into it when we lost our other tower.
Yeah, just for your knowledge, we worked real hard at that a few years back.
Essentially, we were let in on 2 personal favors, a personal favor from civil defense to me and a personal favor from the head of civil defense to Paul DeCoste, because they both used to be the chief rangers at the national park. And
yeah,
and there's a lot of people unhappy about the fact that we are in there.
Mm.
So we tread lightly, we go up, we maintain the building when they ask, and we fixed the roof. And
Okay, yeah, it might require some scratching of backs again.
Yeah.
The roof that we fixed, that was a civil defense, site?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's the Colony Repeater building.
Okay.
The county owns
Okay.
that building.
The county owns that building. The building right next door to it is Coast Guard. The generator is Coast Guard, and the county is Tower.
But we fixed the county.
Yeah, yeah. When the hole got poked in the roof membrane from the antenna that exploded in the lightning strike, they couldn't get the county people to go up there, and they couldn't. The county people wouldn't let them hire a contractor, so they were stuck. And we had a bucket collecting the water right in front of $1.5 million of public safety communications equipment. And I said, "Club will fix it for you." And
That'll get it going.
yeah, it went very well to help that relationship and ease the concerns that we were in their site. Because there is an employee at Civil Defense who's a ham radio operator who does not want us in there. He wants our equipment in different sites because that way, if their sites go down, our other equipment is still up. But in certain sites, you have to overlap.
Okay. Well. Keep us surprised as to how we can get up there and get that done. Let me know if there's anything I can do on, my schedule and what it's like.
Yeah.
And let me know if I can chip in. And if it's
Oh, that's coming. The work party's going to be on a Saturday.
okay. Okay, perfect.
It'll probably be a Saturday right before this meeting. So if this is on a Sunday, we'll do it the Saturday and we can come in and show pictures and.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good to show the people at that next meeting there. All right. Other business.
Got one item that shouldn't take long.
Yeah.
Tony wrote about this, Wind Lake RMS gateway that was left to me by Jim Huntley on his departure.
Mhm.
And it was simply a handoff of the station. I've since registered that with the Wind Lake folks under my call sign, but I want to make that part of the club's assets. So
Okay.
I'm installing it. I've added PC input-output devices to. There was no peripheral or input I/O out on it, but and I'm installing an antenna, and then we'll crank that up and hopefully and I've committed to having a 24/7 power supply as well. So
So are you donating it to the club?
I am, yes.
I make a motion to accept his donation.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor of Dave's donation? Aye.
Very good.
All right.
That didn't
Just
take
like a
long.
detailed list of what it is.
Pardon?
List what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Antenna, radio.
Yeah, Wind
whatever,
Lake
power supply, battery.
RMS
I
gateway
want it
system.
in writing.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes, models.
Yeah.
Daily serial numbers.
Yeah, so that we get our inventory.
I will.
Yeah. Work on the inventory thing.
Very good.
Are you willing to cover that in equipment under your homeowner's insurance for the time being?
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Was there any other business?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Great meeting.
Lee, you just joined, but I'm not sure she's not there yet.
Hopefully.